If a spouse dies, do you need to probate? Hey guys, I'm Brad from probateresource.com. I'm here today with Josh Rand. Josh Rand is an attorney in the state of Georgia, and we're going to talk about probate as it relates to real estate. Obviously, most of the time when someone's filing for probate, they're probably selling a property for the most part, because that's most people's number one asset. So if a spouse passes away, does their spouse need to file probate? So Josh, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So the answer is it depends. There's factors that we would ask or consider. It could be the length of time from passing. It could be whether there was a will or no will. And it could also be, it depends on what property needs to be considered. In our case, we're mostly dealing with homes or real property. So the likelihood is that probate is something that has to be examined. One thing, and the first thing that we often look for in a situation where husband and wife own property would be, and this is something you might hear a probate attorney or a real estate attorney talk about, is that there's some assets that transfer outside of the probate estate. And if that's the case, then it would take away the need for probate. And when it comes to real estate, one of the key terms that we look for in a deed is called joint tenants with rights of survivorship. And basically what that means is that both husband and wife each own 100% of the property. Sounds like a fiction a little bit, but and basically the surviving spouse remains as the 100% owner of the property, and when somebody passes, their rights in the property extinguish. And so that would transfer without need for probate or any further action, really. We might evidence that by doing what we call an affidavit of surviving joint tenant, where we might record a copy of the death certificate and just indicate, hey, the property rights of this joint tenant has extinguished. Here's the proof of, passing.
So, and a lot of times people don't even realize the difference between joint tenants with survivorship. And I've explained this in some of the other videos, but the deed has to explicitly say that. And if it doesn't explicitly say joint tenants with survivorship, then what is the default?
Correct. So the default is called tenants in common. And if you and I own property as tenants in common, you own your percentage or 50%, and I own my 50%. And then it requires going through the probate to have an estate who then is authorized to go ahead and convey your ownership interest in that property. It used to be, I've been doing this 22 years now, and when I first started in the business, I don't know if it was as common for attorneys to put joint tenants with rights of survivorship. I think that is, most attorneys just do that generally, but it's certainly not a bad idea to check and look at your deed. And if you're in the process of purchasing a property, then you'd like to look at that. If it's a property that, we're talking about probate, so maybe through inheritance or you're not sure, usually a pretty simple check to the public records, which a lot of times can be accessed online, and you can make that determination.
Yeah, nowadays, pretty much all the counties and municipalities, even very rural counties, you can access deed records online. Very rarely nowadays do you actually have to go down to a courthouse and actually pull the deed. Everything's pretty much available online. So in this particular case, we're talking about spouses, and really, I guess the thing to look for is whether they owned a property as joint tenant survivorship or tenants in common. Now, if the property was owned by maybe just one of the spouses in the entirety, and the other spouse wasn't on title, obviously, I've encountered this from time to time where maybe the property was in the husband's name, husband passed away 15 years ago, and the wife continued to live there, continued to pay the taxes and so forth, and now all of a sudden 15 years later, the wife wants to sell the property. Well, does she need to probate that in that case?
Again, the attorney answer is it depends.
Yes.
And one of the factors that we look at, I can only speak to Georgia, but in Georgia, if the passing is more than 3 years, then sometimes we can do an affidavit of descent. And what that is an affidavit which identifies who the heirs at law are And if we can get comfortable with that, then we would go and we would get deeds basically from each of the heirs at law, because essentially those parties are vested or have an ownership interest in the property, even though that wasn't specifically by a deed of record. If there's certain elements that we have to be careful. If there is a will, then we might not be able to do an affidavit of descent. But sometimes don't be afraid of probate. Sometimes it's a formality and it's not such an arduous process or a hard process. It's just filling out some paperwork. In fact, I'm sure many states offer this. Here in Georgia, there's a website where the forms or the petitions needed to file a probate are right there on Georgia probate forms, for example.
Yeah, I've done a video about that. It's actually available there on our website on probateresource.com. If you're in the state of Georgia, I link to it there. All the the official documents that all of the counties and municipalities here in the state of Georgia use, all of the forms, everything you could possibly think of, even to the craziest possible, weird scenario, all those forms are available online. Now,
and I just want to throw a little anecdote that I got yelled at very early in my career when I tried to fill out a probate, and I sort of edited what I thought was not the necessary information, and I got yelled at by the probate judge that I was not to mess with the Georgia forms. So they're very easy to follow. It's not, sometimes you might maybe have some questions or need a little guidance. Certainly here in Georgia we're able to help or guide you to an attorney if it's a more complex situation regarding probate. But anyway, don't be frightened by those.
Definitely. Awesome, Josh. Well, I appreciate your time on this. Again, I'm Brad from probateresource.com. Like I mentioned, we're a real estate solutions company. We specialize in probate inheritance properties. We buy properties for cash. Or if you feel like you want to go the traditional route and you want to list the house with an agent, I've got a fantastic hand-picked network of real estate agents I work with all across the country that specialize in probate inheritance properties. If you feel like you want to work with our company, you can go to probateresource.com or click on the link below in the description. It'll take you to our website. There's a form there on the website you can fill out, or you can pick up the phone and call the phone number there on the website. A member of our team would be happy to discuss your situation and figure out if you might be a good fit for us. So thanks again for checking out this video. Thanks again for your time, Josh.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.